Hey everybody, Mr. The Fanboy here. Right here, this is my rant on Triple H and of course the Triple H versus Sting match at WrestleMania 31 this year. Several months have passed since that match. I am still pissed off with that match, and that's one of the main reasons I don't watch WWE. That's one of the main reasons I don't watch WWE now. And if anyone wants to come out here and try to defend that garbage, fuck you. Shut the hell up. I'm not listening. I'm not listening. I will continue to bash and rant on WWE and hate them for that garbage. And hate them for that garbage. And if you in any ways defend, condone, or what's his name, you are automatically a sheep to me. You are automatically a sheep to me, and never would I want to associate with you. Want to associate with you. If you like WWE now, you're a sheep. You're a sheep. You're a sheep to me. You're a sheep to me. Um, with that being said, let's start off with the Sting versus Triple H match. Of course, let's start off when it was announced. First off, I always wanted Sting to stay away from WWE. I always wanted Sting to stay away from WWE after what they did with Diamond Dallas Page, Booker T, and all the yes, I watched WCW in its final years. All of the up and coming talent like Hugh Morris, um, Hugh Morris, Johnny Stamboli, Johnny Stamvoli, Vito, who came a little later, Vito, Sean O'Hare, Jindrak, even though he had a much better career than those guys, and him leaving WWE led to him becoming a bigger star in Mexico. Um, Chronic, Brian Adams, respectively, to WWE fans, Adam bombing the late Crush, respectively. The ECW guys, the ECW wrestlers, pretty much what they did with all those guys, and then later with Steiner, and more importantly, as much as I talk about Steiner, he was kind of old at that point. So I'm not too mad they didn't push him harder. They didn't push him harder, but he was kind of too old. He was past his prime by that point. His prime was the last days of WCW when they were pushing him hard. Um and um and 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 Goldberg and Goldberg. So and the stuff they were doing with WCW. Are you serious? Are you serious? And I hated the Are You Seriouses. Even when they were making fun of WWE. So when it wants to try to defend and say, oh, well, they made fun of WWE too. Yeah, I had a problem with that too. Not only they bury wrestlers I like Matt Hardy. I remember the one where they buried Matt Hardy, Justin Gabriel, where he accidentally tripped and fell over the rope. So they tried, and yeah, they tried to use the trip. Saying that's a metaphor for Matt Hardy. He slipped. That's a metaphor for Matt Hardy's career. Josh Matthews. I'm a huge fan of Josh Matthews now that he's in TNA, but I hated him. I hated him 3 years ago. 3 years ago when they were doing the Are You Seriousness, and then I didn't like when they were trying to bring up moments from the past era. I found this offensive because they're taking an era of wrestling, they're taking an era of WWE where it was more watchable, more watchable, more exciting. They're trying to bury that and try to make today's era seem, try to justify the garbage we have to put up with today. So yes, I didn't like when they were making fun of WWE too. I'm more offended by WCW because I'm more of a fan of WCW. But I didn't like them making fun of old WWE too, so don't try to defend the Are You Serious moments. So after seeing all that, I never wanted Sting in TNA. I wanted him to retire in TNA. I wanted him to retire in TNA. I wanted him to retire in TNA. But then I wanted him to retire in TNA because you know what? First off, the Sting and Taker match, which everyone was talking about, it already happened. It already happened. Except neither one of these guys were who they are today. It already happened. Undertaker was being Mark Callis in WCW. Secondly, Taker is not in Sting's league, so I don't care to see a dream match between the two. Sting, in my opinion, is legit the real deal. Taker's a cartoon character. Taker, so there. So I really didn't care much to see a Sting and Taker. Really didn't care to see a Sting and Taker match. Taker, I like parts of his career, but I'll talk about it in another video my extreme hatred for Undertaker, because right now this is Triple H versus Sting and a rant on Triple H's career. So I didn't care about what's his name. I didn't care about what's his name, and he was old by this point. So I really wanted him I really wanted him to retire with TNA Um he went to he went to in 2014 when I saw the direction TNA was going in with finally the young guys they were doing that years before, but it was stars, like I said, it was stars from 2002, like AJ Styles, Daniels, and people like that. They were going in the direction of young guys, and guys like MVP and Lashley. I was like, yeah, because in my opinion, Sting, with the current roster you see in TNA now, Sting didn't fit in. Sting, in my opinion, doesn't really fit in much with the current roster, even though I would have loved, even though looking back now, even though looking where EC3 is, I would have loved to see a Sting EC3 feud, but where you look at Sting, but where you look at where the rosters and stuff you had years ago and the roster you have now, in my opinion, Sting doesn't fit in with this roster in TNA anymore. Doesn't fit in with this roster in TNA anymore. So I started, let's let him go to WWE. And the match between Undertaker, yeah, sure, Undertaker's not in his league, but it's more about spectacle. It's more about spectacle than actual work rate, than actual work rate. Yeah, and of course Sting debuted at Survivor Series. Wasn't really watching much of WWE, but I heard about it. What I heard about it, and I didn't care about I didn't care about that. I didn't care about that. He comes to Raw. He finally makes his Raw debut. He comes to Raw, and then once again, just like his TNA role, and this has pretty much been his role. This has pretty much been his role since becoming the Crow Sting, that was taking out the top heel, the oppressing power, and bringing order back to Raw, and bringing professional wrestling back to normal. That has always been Sting's role. That has always been Sting's role since he became the Crow persona. Crow persona. Whenever there's some guy drunk with power or some guy trying to stage any form of hostile takeover of the organization, Sting plays the superhero. Sting plays the dark hero, the dark avenger, who's gonna come and make everything right. That's what Sting's character was, and has always been since. And of course, he even says when he got there, this is not about WCW. This is not about WCW. This is about Sting taking out the authority. So finally, we get to WrestleMania 31, and like I said, much to my surprise, it was a good match. I didn't like the fact that I just buried Undertaker a couple of minutes ago, but Triple H damn sure ain't in Sting's league. So I damn sure didn't want to see Triple H wrestle Sting. Um, and they, much to my surprise, Triple H and Sting actually have chemistry. They actually surprisingly had a good match, even though, to tell you the truth, there's nothing I've not seen from Sting before. And this right here, this is a shot at all those people. When people defend this, first off, they try to use the stage he was on. He was at a garbage WrestleMania, one of the worst sets for WrestleMania I've ever seen. He was at a garbage WrestleMania. And I don't think anyone cared about it. I don't see anyone talking about it. I didn't see or see anyone really talking about WrestleMania. And I'm talking people in real life, man. Not internet WWE fanboys, which I mostly see talking about WrestleMania. I didn't see anyone talking about WrestleMania. The only time I really saw anyone caring about WrestleMania in a long time was 27 and 28, and that was because of one man, The Rock, and Austin. Well, Austin was at 27 too. That's the only time I've ever really seen people really talking about WrestleMania, where people were really excited about WrestleMania. Now I rarely ever see anyone talking much about WrestleMania. But going back to Sting, they used he performed better here. Annoying WWE fans say he performed better here in WWE. Than he did in TNA when he's wrestled. First off, when first off since pretty when first off Sting, first off, I'm not mocking his age. I'm just telling it how it is. He's 50 something years old. A lot of the moves he did in the past, he can't do anymore. His arsenal consists of technical wrestling, punches, consists of chain wrestling, chain wrestling, punches, kicks, a stinger splash, He sometimes may throw a drop kick in there, and a scorpion death lock, and a scorpion death drop. And his scorpion death locks have always been terrible. That's not his style. He's not a submission wrestler. He's like Bret Hart. Bret Hart said it best. There's a lot of people who can't pull out a good sharpshooter. Sting and The Rock, great wrestlers, great workers, but they have terrible sharpshooters. It's how you hit the moves. It's how you hit the moves. It's not necessarily doing the moves. It's how you hit the moves. Sting knew how to play to the crowd. Same with The Rock when he did his sharpshooter. But they were both, in terms of execution, they were both terrible. Both of their sharpshooters. It's the same thing with Hogan. In one match in WCW, he teamed up with Macho Man to wrestle Flair and Arn Anderson. And in one match, he tried a figure four on one of them, and it was ugly. Because that Hulk Hogan, a great wrestler and a great worker, but he is not a submission wrestler. That is not his style. So Sting, so that and his prime hadn't been since the late '80s, early '90s. This right here wasn't a dig at Sting. This was a shot at all those people who somehow say he performed better at WrestleMania when he's been doing the same thing for like a decade. He's been doing the same thing for like a decade. The only difference between this time and TNA, he didn't have a shirt this time. He didn't wear a shirt this time. He didn't wear really much of a shirt this time. Only real difference. Only real difference. So, like I said, it was a good match, but like I said, I don't care how good the match was because, first of all, the story sucked. This went from being Sting taking out the Authority to transforming into a NWO versus DX, WCW versus WWE feud, WWE feud, and my God, that NWO. First off, this whole thing was a disgrace. You had these guys old as hell. Well, Hogan and Nash at least. Hogan, Nash, and Hall, old as hell, coming out here, walking to the ring all slow. Then you had X-Pac in this group, who was part of both of these stables. Then the story. The NWO. First of all, there's another problem I have. There were more than 3 to 4 members of the NWO. I'm talking about the whole NWO. I'm talking about the NWO Japan with Mashiro Chono, the fake Sting, Jeff Farmer. I think that's his name, Jeff Farmer, the fake Sting, the Buff Bagwell, Scott Steiner, even the B team, Scott Norton, Horace Hogan, and Vincent or Virgil from the WWE fans, for you WWE fans. There were more than there were more than 3 to 4 members of the NWO. Like I said, you had Hogan, Hall, Nash, and X-Pac, and like I said, X-Pac was part of both of them. Then the storyline. People, in '97, Sting hit up in the rafters. Sting feuded with the NWO for pretty much most of '97. Hit up in the rafters because of the NWO, because his friends suspected him of joining the NWO. For joining the NWO. He only joined the NWO red and black because his best friend Lex Luger convinced him to. And when they hit the finger poke of doom and became one stable again, he left and went back to his Crow persona. So to have the NWO coming to fight for Sting, fuck you, WWE. Then you had DX out here. My God, man. First of all, this pisses me off because people say, because people try to jump DX up there with the NWO. DX has never been on NWO's has never been on NWO's level. Has never been, and even Shawn Michaels himself at the Hall of Fame said if there was no NW, if there wasn't for the NWO, there'd be no DX. If there's a totem pole of wrestling, of wrestling factions and wrestling, DX is beneath it. DX is beneath it. DX is beneath it. I've never liked DX. I've only liked the last and third incarnations with the New Age Outlaws and X-Pac, who made it entertaining. That stuff with Shawn Michaels, that sophomoric humor stuff with Shawn Michaels and Triple H, that just sucked. It sucked. It sucked and killed wrestling. And just killed wrestling and made wrestling look even gay. But like I said, DX was sophomoric humor, two frat boys acting like teenagers. That's what DX was. DX was. NWO was a badass street gang using gang warfare, was a badass rebel stable using gang warfare, street using warfare to take over WCW and change the game and change professional wrestling. I was gonna say it again. Attitude Era, Austin, and The Rock. There were lots of other great wrestlers in the Attitude Era, but those were Austin and The Rock. Those were the ones who turned the favor in WCW. It was the Austin Vince McMahon feud and the rising popularity of The Rock. DX, The only thing that was good about DX was Road Dogg and Billy Gunn and X-Pac. Yeah, Road Dogg, the most charismatic of the group. Yeah, Billy Gunn, the workhouse of the group, and charismatic in his own right. Not as good as Road Dogg, but charismatic in his own right. And X-Pac, the best wrestler and worker of the group. So Triple H sucked. So to imply that DX was on the middle, they never drew the same money. They were never as big as them. And the whole thing when they went up to WCW to tank, minor league, in my opinion, any form of invasion that is not planned or scripted sucks. You had Shane Douglas try to invade WWE years ago, and I'm a huge fan of Shane Douglas, but he tried to invade WWE in a mask. The guy didn't even make it to the front row before security grabbed him and took him out. No one even cared. The match continued, and all of a sudden you see this guy in a mask stand up. I forgot who was wrestling, but I saw it here. You see this guy in a mask, that was Shane Douglas, and security immediately attacks him and throws him out. Any form of invasion that is not planned, any form of invasion that is not pre-planned or scripted automatically sucks because security is going to grab them and escort them out or chase them out before they even get in the building. That's what they did with DX when they rolled him it was minor league. You had WCW, this big time promotion, and you have the WWE pretending to invade WWE trying to invade WCW. Yeah, when ECW did it, it was cool because only Vince, when ECW invaded Raw back in 95, I think it was 95 or 97, 95, 97, Vince and Paul were in on it, but the wrestlers didn't know much about it. And then once again, they were changing the business. DX rolling up WCW, it was blown out of proportion, and people overrated what you call it. Like I said, DX. DX was two frat boys acting like kids. I never liked DX. I only liked the third incarnation. Even the third and fourth incarnation. Even the fourth incarnation kind of sucked because it was all about Triple H and his monster push with the real members of DX, Billy Gunn, Road Dogg, and X-Pac being his lackeys. When it wasn't like that before. To imply that they were on their level, then JBL. And as much as I hate JBL, it wasn't JBL. No, all the crap he was spewing out of his mouth, all that revolutionist history he was saying about Sting, the burial of Sting. First off, it had nothing to do with the match. Where Sting was, and before this match, where Sting was before he came to WWE, and the history of it, none of that matters. So if he wants to try to use JBL's burial of Sting as a way to say, JBL's a heel, no. It had nothing to do, Sting, all that revolutionist history and all that burial of Sting, it had nothing to do with the storyline and what was going on now. But you have JBL not only jumping DX up there with the NWO, but you also had him saying crap like, Sting, he's that guy, He's that guy who was in the D League and he just got called up. He just got called up to the main roster and all that crap about, oh, Sting has never been on the big stage because he's never performed at WrestleMania. Once again, when's the last time anyone has really cared about WrestleMania? No one since 20 and 21 has cared about WrestleMania, and 27 and 28 were the first time people cared about Mania in a long time. I've never heard anyone talk, in between that, I've never heard anyone talk about WrestleMania except kids and teenagers. I've never heard anyone talk about WrestleMania in between that time. In between 21 and 27, Sting in WCW. Sting went around the world wrestling for more prestigious titles on a bigger stage in the early 90s, in the late 80s and early 90s, on a bigger stage. Then in the ratings war era, they were kicking your butts with an even bigger stage and bigger production value. Seriously, WCW and WCW made WWE look Bush League back in the day. You had WWE with this small Raw. Awesome. Raw was way better back then than it is today. But you had WCW with this larger than life expensive Nitro and Thunder and pay-per-view sets, and you had WWE with this, well, WrestleMania and other pay-per-views look cool, but you had WWE with this low budget in your house and Raw sets. They made them look Bush League and minor league. They made WCW made them so to come here with that bigger stage crap. And if anyone wants to try to defend this by saying JBL was talking about his time in TNA, WWE doesn't even mention TNA. When James Storm was on NXT, they mentioned James Storm as a former wrestler for WCW. I forgot he was in WCW because he was an enhancement talent then. He was just breaking into the business then. It was an enhancement talent. He wasn't a top star like he was in TNA yet. And they even have Sting's career ending in 2001 when WCW went out of business. So don't even try to defend and say, oh, they were talking about his time with TNA. Oh, yes, and you WWE fanboys, I will automatically always hate you. If you're a fanboy of WWE, I don't have really that much of a problem with WWE fanboys. It's the sheep, the loyal WWE sheep I have a problem with. If you defended Sting jobbing to Triple H, screw you. Like I said, I will never want to be associated with you. If you come at me, I will curse you out. Because you guys sat there for years in TNA bashing him because he didn't want to come to this freaking company. The reason why he didn't come to this freaking company, and you guys are okay. You first off, some of you come here and say you understand, but you continue to watch and defend this garbage wrestling product. But JBO just burying Sting. Like I said, Sting went around the world wrestling for the most prestigious title. They try to say Sting's never been on the big stage because he's never been at WrestleMania. And like I said, and JBL, as much as I hate him, that wasn't JBL. That was Vince McMahon in his ear. Still mad, still bitter that all the top guys, still bitter. Man, I don't care about ratings and money and all that. WCW was always better. I came in at 95. 95 to 2001 was awesome. Even before that, WCW was better. Even before that, WCW was better than you. Was better than WWE. Better wrestling, better storylines, and better characters, and just better everything. Better everything, man. Better everything. There would never be anything like what WCW was. TNA is close, but no, they don't have the money or the budget or the backing that company had. They don't have what WCW had, man. But that's another video for another day. And then Triple H. Then finally Sting losing to Triple H. Then Sting shaking hands with Triple H at the end. And let me show you the problem I have with this. Triple H is not even in Sting's league. Rock and Austin, even Brock Lesnar were more deserving of this. Even Randy Orton, I'll even go with Randy Orton, were more deserving of wrestling Sting than Triple H. Triple H, who would not be anywhere in the business now if it wasn't for Steph. If it wasn't for Stephanie, Triple H would be a preliminary wrestler and a mid-carder, which is what he was. This guy was never a main eventer. I'm gonna bury his whole career. Of course, he was trained by Killer Kowalski. When he was trained by Killer Kowalski, then after what was it? I think he spent 3 years on the independent circuit, 2 years on the independent circuit, and joined WWE in '94. And he was terrorizing, and he was boring. He was so lame. He lost to Alex Wright. Now, to tell you the truth, Alex Wright is a way better wrestler than Triple H. Disco Inferno was better than Triple H. Alex Wright, but Triple H lost to the guy who does that. The Das Wonder Kid. Triple H lost to freaking Alex Wright. In what's his name? Triple H lost to freaking Alex Wright. Then Triple H was so boring, they put him in a tag team with William Regal. They put him in a tag team with William Regal, and he left because WCW didn't want to make him a single star. He was boring. He was boring. Who would push this guy? And he went to WWE. He went to WWE and immediately befriended Shawn Michaels and the Clique. Immediately befriended Shawn Michaels and the Clique. Immediately befriended Shawn Michaels and the Clique because WWE with backstage politics is the only place where a guy like Triple H can get over and be the top guy. He cannot be the top guy in any other company but WWE. WWE, and then he had garbage feuds with the Godwins, garbage matches with Goldust, several garbage matches. Just like I said, just a mediocre wrestler at best. His craft, his wrestling craft is a watered down version and crappier version of Steiner with elements of Flair and Harley Race because he likes to drag him out and have these boring 18-minute, 20-minute long matches. But unlike Flair and Harley Race, he doesn't have the psychology and the ability to keep the audiences invested in those matches. And unlike modern workers like AJ Styles and Daniels who've wrestled matches like that, or Kurt Angle and Joe, he doesn't have the innovation and the moves to keep people invested in matches like that. A match between him and Triple H and Undertaker at WrestleMania 28, the Hell in a Cell, which everyone loves, match was boring. The work rate was good, but it was just a boring 20-minute, boring fake brawl and street fight. That's what he has. Says boring brawls, boring 20-minute brawls and stuff like that. Like I said, Triple H was a mediocre wrestler, has several garbage wrestlers. Only time Triple H ever had a good match was when the right person was in the ring with him. Pretty much when Rocky was Rocky Maivia, and the Marvelous One, Mark Merrill, are the only matches I can think of that were like remotely good, that he had that were remotely like really, really good. The Wild Man, Mark Merrill. Like I said, pretty much they have to have chemistry. It has to be a guy Triple H has chemistry with for him to have a really good match. He's not the worst wrestler ever, but in comparison to the all-time greats and all of the indie and international talent out there, he might as well be the worst wrestler of all time. He sucks. Not the worst, but he sucks, man. Then of course mediocre mic work, and then finally in '98, this is when he started to rise, when he joined DX. This is when he actually became entertaining for a while. Pretty much Triple H from 99 till 2008, Triple H was entertaining. In mid 2008, after his feud with Randy Orton and Cena, this is when I was about sick of him. This is when I started to get sick of him, man. When he became more boring, when he became even more boring. But like I said, then of course in 99, when he got put in the main event scene, no one took that seriously, and he wasn't even over. If you go back and watch it, Survivor Series 99, which by the way was one of the worst pay-per-views I've ever seen, the main event, which was Triple H, Big Show, and The Rock, the main event. On paper, people, that sounds like an awesome match. It was garbage. The match they had on Raw before that was better. It was garbage. And people, Triple H was not over. It didn't have to be. The Rock was massively over. The Rock was massively over. The Rock could feud with Brooklyn Brawler or D'Lo Brown or anyone. Anyone. Same with Austin. Same with Austin. So it didn't matter that Triple H wasn't over. He wasn't over. People, even Big Show back then, yes. Big Show. Nobody cares about Big Show today, but back then, Big Show got a louder pop than Triple H when he came out. When Triple H came out, no one cared, and no one cared about the match. No one cared about the match, and Triple H, he stunk up the main event. He stunk up the main event. Survivor Series '99. Apart from who ran over Austin and the debut of Kurt Angle, that was one of the worst pay-per-views I'd ever saw. That was one of the worst pay-per-views of all time. Worst pay-per-views of all time. He wasn't over. And the only reason he even got his main event spot was because Undertaker got injured and turned face. Undertaker got injured and turned face. Before that, Undertaker and Shane O'Mac and Vince were top heels. Triple H was a mid-carder and a secondary member in the corporate ministry. A corporate ministry. Then, of course, it was Cactus Jack, Mick Foley, in that awesome Royal Rumble 2000 hardcore match. Awesome match where he put Triple H over hard. So much we still have to put up with that today. Cactus Jack, he put Triple H over hard and made him a main eventer. And Triple H in an interview a couple of years ago disrespected Mick Foley by calling him out of shape when it was Mick Foley who put his loser belt over. When he was in the main event before that. No one was taking that seriously. And the reason he got that main event spot, as you would later learn, because he wasn't leaving. He got that spot, but not only because of him banging the boss's daughter, because unlike Austin and Rock, Vince knew Triple H was that guy. Triple H was that guy who would never leave. That's the same reason Cena and Orton got their spots. Got to keep their spots. Got to keep their spots. Got to keep their spots. So like I said, so first off, Triple H ain't the wrestler or worker Sting is. Was never as over as Sting was, but yet he got to beat Sting. He got to beat Sting. He got to beat Sting. That right there just like totally pisses me off. And people say he's helping. Yeah, ask CM Punk about that. Coming out of nowhere, and he still does this. Whoever the hottest act is, he attaches himself to it. He's never been the guy. He was always the guy next to the guy. Whenever he comes in and he buries what you call it. Now, I don't know much about RVD because I really wasn't watching much of wrestling at that time, but I hear he buried RVD when he was coming up. Then, of course, everyone knows with the Booker T. Steiner, yeah, but Steiner was kind of old, so I'm not too angry about that as much as I used to be. The barrel of Steiner, as much as I used to be, and as much as Rick Steiner and some other people are, so I'm not as mad about him burying Steiner. But yes, every top WCW guy, Triple H got to beat him. Just like I'm also not mad about Kevin Nash. I actually thought him and Kevin Nash sucked. I thought that was the worst. Match ever. I'm more mad that Triple H and Kevin Nash at Bad Blood 2003 had a world title match in the 2000s. These two had 2000s more so than Nash losing to Triple H. Then of course Goldberg losing to Triple H. Triple H, like I said, he's not the wrestler, he's not the star. Any of these guys were, and yet all these guys had to lose to him. Then he buries his own talent. Before he finally put over Randy Orton, he buried the crap out of Randy Orton when Randy Orton was coming up as a face. Randy Orton was coming up as a face. Then of all people he put over Batista, who sucks. He put over Batista and John Cena. All the people to put over, he put over both of these guys who suck. And then CM Punk. Then of course I mentioned 2008 when he went to SmackDown. Quickly buried and beat Edge and took his title, and SmackDown was so boring when he was champion. He killed SmackDown. SmackDown was exciting to watch until he beat Edge and took his title. I think this is also around the time when that PG crap started. PG rating crap started, because I mean WWE becoming more watered down and becoming more boring and more bland than it had ever been. Then of course you got and then 2009, him and DX on Raw, celebrity guest host Cena being shoved in our throats. Man, was Raw so damn crappy in 09. It was probably even worse than 08. Then in 2011, Summer of Punk, coming out of nowhere and beating Punk, coming out of nowhere and beating Punk, coming out of nowhere and beating Punk, and people say, oh, he's helping talent right now. Shut the hell up. Shut the hell up. Even Justin Gabriel on Talk is Jericho criticized Triple H, saying Justin Gabriel saying Triple H would not listen to his ideas for his characters, and he decided to leave. He decided to leave. Triple H ain't, what's his name? Triple H ain't pushing no one. Triple H ain't pushing no one. You'll never convince me that he's helping the business or anything. He's helping the business or anything. Take that, and go somewhere else and go somewhere else with someone who will believe and listen to that garbage. Because I won't. I won't. I won't. This guy single-handed. This guy Vince McMahon, Triple H, John Cena. John Cena single-handedly killed professional freaking wrestling, man. Killed professional freaking wrestling. And like I said, man, and Sting, if Sting agreed to this, man, I'm a huge fan of yours, but fuck you too if you agreed to this. But I don't believe he did. I don't believe he did. I believe it was just for the check, and Sting came for the fans. The fans want to see him. Oh, and speaking of this, I'll forget about this part. So, not only do you make Sting like a joke, not only is because the authority is still on my TV when Triple H should have been beaten, that should have been the end of the authority. No, Sting, he shows up months later. He shows up a couple of months later, even though he lost at WrestleMania. Even though he lost at WrestleMania, he comes several months later demanding a title shot against Seth Rollins. Why is Rollins taking this seriously? You're dumbass Sting, you idiot. You lost at WrestleMania. You have to win matches before you can come out of nowhere and demand a title shot and have people actually take it seriously. So once again, making Sting like a freaking idiot, a freaking moron. He comes here to destroy. He comes here to destroy the authority. Loses, which means the authority is still on my TV. Then months later comes and demands a title shot. Like I said, garbage storytelling, and I'm not even giving WWE a chance to correct that. So many awesome storylines, so many crappy storylines by them, and so many good storylines by them ruined because of their ego and stuff, stuff like that. So Sting, his run in WWE automatically sucks. I don't care how good either one of these matches were. His run in WWE automatically sucks, and WWE automatically sucks for garbage storytelling. TNA, Independence, international promotions, and everywhere. They have the build up, they have the story, they have the in-ring psychology, they have athleticism and everything. WWE only has one of them. I'm not accepting WWE having only one or two out of the total package of what I want in a wrestling show. So WrestleMania 31, I take back what I said. Fastlane, WWE Fastlane was the only good wrestling show this year. Every other show was mediocre to garbage. WrestleMania 31 was garbage. Not as bad as 25 and 29, but still freaking garbage. Not as bad as SummerSlam 2015 and Royal Rumble 2015, which have to be the worst shows I've seen this year. And Night of Champions, screw Night of Champions. I don't care about it. All I watched was the Sting and Seth Rollins match, and I don't care how good the match was. The booking sucked, and therefore WWE sucks. And I'm so happy I don't watch this crappy product anymore. And anyone who defends WWE and defends anything they do, fuck you. Really getting tired of you WWE sheep. You lame WWE marks, man. Lame WWE marks. Always defending and accepting their trash and trying to force the product on other people, man. This product sucks. And they coming on here saying, oh, people like me can't talk crap about WWE. Fuck WWE for this garbage. But you know what was worse than this, people? The Alberto Del Rio Triple H Championship, Triple H situation, Triple H controversy, which I will talk about in another video. But this was the Sting versus Triple H. Sting versus Triple H feud at the burial of Triple H's career. Alright. Dug out.